And we're back with another video. What's going on, folks? You already know who it is. It's your boy Avery Wright, and we're here with another Panthers post-game report. And I know I've been away for a couple of days, but I'm finally back, and we're just going to jump right into this, all right? So, on Sunday, the Carolina Panthers headed down south to Houston, Texas to take on the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium. The Panthers came out of there with a win, 16-10, in a defensive juggernaut match. So, a few stats. Deshaun Watson went 21 for 33 and had 160 yards passing. He had no passing touchdowns, or he didn't have any interceptions as well, but he did have one rushing touchdown. Running back Carlos Hyde had 12 carries for 58 yards. Their lead receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, a.k.a. D-Hop, only had 5 receptions for 41 yards. And on the defensive side, their cornerback, Justin Reed, led the way with 10 tackles. And J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, and Brennan Scarlett all had 1 sack. And all 3 of their sacks were strip sack fumbles. Now, on to the winning side. Backup quarterback Kyle Allen went 24 for 34 and had 232 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but as I mentioned earlier, he had 3 big fumbles. Well, I'll get into that a little bit later. But for the running backs, Christian McCaffrey had 27 carries for 93 yards and 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey also led the way in receptions with 10 receptions and 86 yards on the day. On the defensive side, linebacker Shaq Thompson led the way with 12 tackles and 1 sack. And the Panthers actually got to Deshaun Watson 6 times. They sacked him, yes, counted 6 times. So within the last 2 weeks, last week they sacked Kyler Murray 8 times. This week they sacked Deshaun Watson 6 times. That's 14 sacks in 2 weeks. That's crazy. But again, I'll get more into that later. Mario Addison also added on with 2 sacks. Bruce Irvin had 1 sack. Vernon Butler had 1 crucial strip sack. And both Brian Birds and Javian Elliott both had a half a sack. Now, the pros I would say for this game would probably have to be the defense. Holy cow. The defense played lights out. And like I said, they needed to be on Deshaun Watson like white on rice. And that's exactly what they were. Because as we all know, Deshaun Watson is one of the most elusive quarterbacks in the league. Even if he's going down, he'll use one hand to still try and get up and still try to throw it for the first down. But they made sure that did not happen. But also, then again, as I am going to praise the Panthers defense, because you know that's my team, the Texans offensive line really isn't the best. I mean, we've seen it all year. You saw week 1 against the Saints. Even last week against the Chargers. I mean, against the Chargers, they actually did have probably their best game of the year. But against Carolina, they just couldn't stop that pass rush. And that pass rush looks vicious, man. It looked vicious. But another key thing was the reason why the pass rush was so great is because hats off to the secondary, man. They were locking DeAndre Hopkins. First, James Bradbury was locking DeAndre Hopkins up. Like I said, DeAndre Hopkins only had 5 receptions, 41 yards. And 2 of those receptions that he had came in the 4th quarter with like 10 seconds left. So Bradbury held him in check all day long. All day. Will Fuller, he didn't have too many yards. And shout out to Kenny Stills. I'm a big fan of his, but sadly, Kenny Stills did go down in that first quarter with an ankle injury. He had caught a pass from Deshaun Watson, and it looked like he was going to slant out towards the sideline and cut up the middle, but he wobbled out of bounds, and it looked like he hurt his calf or his ankle, but hoping for a speedy recovery. Hope Kenny Stills can go back to being the dynamic wide receiver that I know he can be. But back to the defense, the boys in the secondary held it down. Now, mind you, Dante Jackson did not play this week because of a groin injury, but we had Ross Cockrell, the 6-year man, come in, and he was starting in Dante's spot, and he played really well. He had 1 interception. It was on the play where the Texans were down in the red zone, and DeAndre Hopkins I guess they did almost kind of like a flea flicker. DeAndre Hopkins had the ball and tried to throw it, and it was just an easy pick. Ross Cockrell came down with it, and it was off from there. But yeah, man, that secondary played lights out because Deshaun Watson had nowhere to throw. He was just sitting in the pocket, and he was trying to be the improviser that he is, try to find someone, but the defense, the secondary, just held it down, which allowed the pass rush to get to him. Now, the cons, I will say, actually, one more pro I'll say was, this is kind of a pro and a con. Christian McCaffrey, like I said, he had a great day. 27 carries, 93 yards, 1 touchdown, 10 receptions, 86 yards. But again, I just don't like how Norv Turner is overworking him. But Norv Turner did say, he was like, oh, well, the quarterback and offensive line have to be out there all the time. Why can't the running back? Well, Mr. Norv Turner, as a running back, the average career span for a running back is like, what, 4 to 5 years? And that's because people are always hitting at your knees and your legs. So that's why they usually don't last long. And the way how we're using Christian McCaffrey, I don't think he's going to make it to his 4th or 5th year. So we're just going to bleed this man dry like how they've been doing with Cam Newton since he first got here. And look, now the effects are starting to happen. That and because of a porous offensive line. But yeah, McCaffrey played great. But again, Norv Turner relies on him way too much. Maybe Cam Newton was right. Maybe Norv Turner has McCaffrey on his fantasy team. Cons, the offensive play calling was so conservative. Oh my gosh. Like, it was so predictable. And like I said, I guess it's Ron Rivera, man, because I thought it was just Mike Shula when Mike Shula was our offensive coordinator with all that conservative stuff. But now Norv Turner is doing it. And it's either Norv Turner because he's old and he doesn't know what to do, or it's just because Ron is telling him to do these plays. And I mean, literally, here's how the Panthers really did this week against the Texans. Run on first down, up the gut with Christian McCaffrey. Okay, maybe 2 yards. Okay, at the beginning of the game, he will break out maybe 5-6 yards. Second down, run again with McCaffrey in between the tackles. We know everyone said that, oh, when he first got drafted, oh, he can't run in between the tackles, but he proved everyone wrong last year, and he's doing it again this year. But again, come on, Norv. You don't have to call inside runs from McCaffrey all the time. Let him go to the outside because that's where he's dangerous. He's dangerous in space. He's quick. He's agile. He has footwork like a wide receiver because, you know, his dad was a wide receiver. So he can hurt you on the outside too. But again, we live and die by McCaffrey, especially since Cam Newton is out. So when Cam Newton's in there, we literally live and die with Cam and McCaffrey, which is a two-headed monster because you got to worry about McCaffrey running. Then, heaven forbid, you got a healthy Cam Newton, and then he got to run. That's a recipe for disaster for defenses. But since Cam's not in, Kyle Allen's not really going to run. So Christian McCaffrey will just get the ball most of the time. And again, like I said, he's just overworking him. I want to see Christian McCaffrey have a long, healthy career because I do believe, and yes, this is partially me being biased, but I don't think any running back in this league is better than Christian McCaffrey. I think the only one that could possibly come close is maybe Saquon Barkley. And okay, kind of Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey are literally like the same person, except Christian McCaffrey is just white and Kamara is black. And so obviously Kamara is going to get more notoriety, but McCaffrey won't because he's a white running back. Shout out to all the white running backs out there, man. They need love too. But anyway, moving on, another con, Kyle Allen. You had a decent day, but today was his day where he came back down to earth. Now, what I mean by that is usually rookies as a running back, quarterback, any type of position, you have a game where you just kind of, you know, at the beginning of the season, you feel on cloud nine, especially when your team is winning, you're putting up good stats, but then there's that game where you come back down to earth. You get humbled, you know, like Cam had that game, I think maybe week 4, because the first two, well, that's mostly because of Ron, because the first 2 weeks, Cam Newton was balling out. Even though we lost to Arizona and Green Bay in those first 2 games, he was balling out. But then after that, Ron went conservative, and his numbers dropped. But it is what it is. But Kyle Allen finally, because last week he balled out against Arizona. And again, it's the Cardinals, so big whoop. But this week against the Texans, he came back down to earth. He didn't look as sharp. And also the play calling wasn't as good as it was the last week before the Cardinals game. Norv, you're killing me, man. But with that, Kyle Allen had 3 fumbles. Now, as a quarterback, you can't do that. You can't have 3 fumbles. Luckily, our defense is good enough this year to make up for that. Kyle Allen had 3 fumbles. 2 of them were his fault. 1 of them was on the offensive line. I think the J.J. Watt one, he could have just stepped up in the pocket on. All he needed was to step up one, and he would have been fine. Another one where he pump fake and he was about to run, and then I think it might have been the Whitney Merciless one, and he just smacked it out of his hand, and he fumbled. Ball security is a must. Now, especially for all those people who are like saying, oh, Kyle Allen should start over Cam Newton even when Cam's healthy. I think Cam Newton's probably only had maybe 3 or 4 fumbles in his 9 years of being a quarterback. This man, Kyle Allen, has had 5 fumbles in his first 3 starts. Again, he's still new. He's still new. He's learning, and he'll only get better from here. So I'm not gonna knock. I'm gonna knock him a little bit, but he still played a very clean game. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he redeemed himself in the most clutch part of that game when it was 3rd and 9, and we were on the Texans 30-something yard line, up in the 30s or 40s. And J.J. Watt got past somebody, and he looked like he was about to swallow up Kyle Allen. But Kyle Allen ducked under and spun out around J.J. Watt. I was at home going like, man, that was looking like Russell Wilson, Cam Newton kind of esque. Even Deshaun Watson like, and he threw it to Jarius Wright for the first down. Oh, reliable Jarius Wright. Man, I know I haven't said a lot about him, but he's really good. I'm glad we have him and Chris Hogan, but apparently Chris Hogan, he got injured. There are a few Panther injuries that came out today. I mean, the rookie left tackle Greg Little, who played amazing at left tackle on Sunday, he's back in concussion protocol. Prayers up to him. Hopefully he can get better. Same with Chris Hogan. I don't know what's going on with him. I didn't really get to read everything because I just saw it popped up on my phone at work. And I just haven't gotten the time to look at all the injuries. But also we lost Kawan Short. He's going to be out for the year. They placed him on IR. This man, what baffles me is this man hasn't played in 2 weeks, and he was still trying to come back playing with a torn rotator cuff. That's insane. That's one thing. This Carolina Panthers medical staff is very, very wishy-washy, man. They never know what's going on. Like I said, we never heard about Kawan Short's injury. We never heard about Chris Hogan getting injured in that Texans game. There was no injury report. I think the only injury report that came from that game was Brian Burns when he had got his hand on a punt and he almost blocked it. But he was so mad that he didn't block that punt. He hit his fist on the turf and he bruised his fist. But other than that, there weren't any other injuries that we know of. But then you come out, oh, Kawan Short is out for the year. Oh, Chris Hogan is going to be out for a few weeks. It sucks. And this medical staff is always hiding stuff. Like I said, with all of Cam's injuries, oh, Cam is fine. Then at the end of the season, oh, yeah, he had 2 broken ribs. Oh, yeah, he had a messed up shoulder. Oh, yeah, he had a messed up ankle. And that's why almost every offseason this man has to get surgery on something. It's sad. This medical team really makes me upset. They need to do a better job, or maybe they just need to get some better folks. Again, who knows? I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy who loves to talk about sports. But anywho, that's all I have for y'all today. Stay tuned for the preview of this weekend's game between the Carolina Panthers taking on Minshew Madness. Oh boy. I'll get into all the Garner Minshew stuff the next time when I upload this preview. Other than that, y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Keep pounding. Go Panthers.